Some other foundational anatomical information that's going to be useful is a discussion on serous membranes. Now, serous membranes are membranes that are surrounding our internal viscera. So we have the pericardium surrounding our heart, we have the pleura surrounding our lungs, and then we have the peritoneum that's surrounding our abdominal pelvic viscera. And the serous membranes are here to reduce friction. So your heart is constantly expanding and contracting, your lungs are inflating and deflating, and your abdominal pelvic organs are able to move around. And the serous membranes help to reduce friction and make sure that there's no structures that are pulling or tugging or potentially damaging one another. And the classic analogy for our serous membrane is kind of like your fist into a balloon. So if you pretend that this here is a fist, I am not a very good artist, so that is unfortunately the best that you're going to get. And this structure here is going to be that kind of half-inflated balloon that you are putting your fist into. Well, you have the part of the balloon that is touching the fist, you have the part of the balloon that is away from the fist, and then you have the little space between those two layers. The part of the balloon, the part of the serous membrane that is not touching the fist, that's not touching the organ, and that's closer to your thoracic or abdominal wall, is going to be the parietal layer of that membrane. Peri is referring to closer to the body wall. The part that is touching the organ is referred to as the visceral layer. And viscera is referring to an internal organ. So the visceral layer of the serous membrane is directly touching the organ itself. There is going to be that little tiny space, that serous cavity, that is between those two layers, and that serous cavity is going to be filled with serous fluid. And this is an oil, it is a lubricant that is going to cause the parietal and the visceral layer to stick to one another, but it's also going to make a friction-free environment. So when those organs do move around, they aren't creating that friction.